His lips were inches from mine. The room was quiet, except for my breathing, heavy and confused, and his, calm but hungry. The air between us had changed, from teasing to dangerous. From playful to intimate. He leaned in, slow, deliberate. My hand was already on his chest, but I didn't pull away. I should have. I didn't. Not when his fingertips grazed my jaw, not when his thumb rested beneath my chin and lifted my gaze to meet his eyes. Then his mouth touched mine. And that was the moment. That moment where I should have said, no. But I didn't. Speaking head before I tell you how far that kiss went. I need you to do one thing. Actually, 3. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear the truth. And subscribe to this channel because what I'm about to confess. I've never told anyone, not even my closest friend. I'm risking it all, anonymously, to help someone not make the mistake I made. So stay with me. Let me take you back to the beginning. I met him the day my husband forgot my birthday. It wasn't the first time he'd let it slip his mind. But that year, it stung more than usual. Maybe because I had spent the past 6 months trying to be better. I cooked more. I listened more. I even said yes in bed when I didn't feel like it. And yet, all I got on my 36th birthday was an empty kitchen, a cold coffee, and a voicemail saying, "Sorry babe, something came up at work. We'll celebrate this weekend, okay?" That something was always work. Or golf. Or his phone. And I, his wife, was always the afterthought. So, I got dressed. Tight jeans. Open back blouse. Hair down. Lip gloss, not lipstick. Not for my husband. For me. I took myself to the bar down by Coral Street. Quiet enough to be left alone. Just loud enough to feel alive. I sat by myself. Ordered a drink I hadn't had since college. A lemon drop martini. Then he sat down 2 stools away. He didn't look like trouble. That's what made him dangerous. He wasn't loud. He wasn't cocky. He had this quiet confidence, dark stubble on his face, black t-shirt, and jeans that fit him just right. He ordered bourbon. Neat. When his eyes met mine, I smiled. Just polite. I didn't expect the conversation. But he leaned in a little and said, "You look like someone who just realized she deserves more." My stomach dropped. My hand tightened around the martini glass. "Excuse me?" I asked, surprised. He shrugged. "Just a guess. I'm good at reading faces." I don't know why I laughed. Maybe because he wasn't wrong. Maybe because no one had really seen me in a long time. He didn't ask if I was married. I didn't offer that up. We talked about music. Books. Cities we wanted to move to. Nothing deep, nothing personal. Just light, clean, safe. At the end of the night, I didn't give him my number. He didn't ask. He just smiled and said, "If you ever come back here on a Thursday, you might see me again." And then he left. Just like that. Smooth. No pressure. The next Thursday. I went back. I told myself I was just there for the martinis. But when he walked in and saw me, the way he smirked, like he'd known I'd return. I felt warm in a place my husband hadn't touched in years, my soul. That night, I gave him my number. We didn't start sleeping together right away. In fact, it was 2 months before anything physical happened. In those 2 months, we texted. A lot. Sometimes during the day, while I was with my husband. Sometimes late at night, when I'd lie and say I was going to bed early, but really, I'd take my phone into the bathroom and message him while sitting on the edge of the tub. He never sent explicit photos. No requests. He just listened. He asked questions. Deep ones. Like, when's the last time you felt proud of yourself? Do you believe in soulmates? If no one would get hurt, would you walk away from your marriage? Those questions broke down something inside me. It was never just about sex with him. It was something else. Something that made me feel. The first time he touched me wasn't in a bedroom. It was in the produce aisle of the supermarket. We'd accidentally run into each other at the local Whole Foods. We both reached for the same pack of blueberries and our fingers brushed. I looked up at him, and he looked down at me. He didn't move his hand. Neither did I. We just stood there, frozen in the cold aisle, warm inside. He leaned in and whispered, "You smell like peaches." I laughed, but my heart was pounding. That night, I didn't sleep next to my husband. I did, physically. But mentally? Emotionally? I was curled up in the memory of that grocery aisle. It all became a game after that. Meeting in places we weren't supposed to. Running into each other, by accident. Talking on an app that automatically deleted messages. No one knew. Not my husband. Not my friends. I had become careful. Smart. Calculated. But I also became reckless with my heart. The night he kissed me for the first time, I was already standing at the edge of a cliff. His lips just gave me the push. And as I fell, I didn't close my eyes. I wanted to remember every detail. Because I knew once I crossed that line, there was no going back. I told myself it was just a kiss. One moment of weakness. A stolen second. A sin, maybe, but one I could bury deep enough to forget. But the truth is, that night changed everything. Because after that kiss, I didn't want to be kissed by anyone else again. Not even my husband. Especially not him. The next morning, I was making breakfast like nothing had happened. Eggs, toast, avocado. I stood barefoot in the kitchen, wearing the same robe I'd worn for years, the one my husband once said made me look soft. He walked in, yawned, and kissed me on the cheek. A dry, half-awake peck. I flinched. He didn't even notice. That same day, he texted me. "I can still taste you." I stared at that message longer than I should have. I didn't reply. Not at first. But the heat that spread through me said everything my lips refused to type. By lunchtime, we were back to texting like nothing had changed. Jokes. Teasing. Half-sent thoughts. But this time it was different. There was tension in every line. "You still thinking about it?" "Maybe." "You're lying." "Maybe." That weekend, my husband wanted to go visit his mother in Naples. I told him I had a migraine. He didn't even argue. He left Saturday morning. By Saturday evening, I was in his, the other man's, apartment. Let me pause and say something here. Speaking head, if you're still with me, take a second to like this video. Share it if you know someone who's ever gotten lost in emotions they couldn't control. And please, subscribe. The deeper I go, the harder it is to tell this. I wish I could say I was dragged into this. That I tried harder to resist. But the truth? I wanted it. I craved it. Not just the way he kissed me, but the way he looked at me like I was something he wanted to unwrap slowly, not just toss aside. Like I mattered. Like my stories meant something. We didn't have sex that night. But we got close. He cooked. I watched. We drank wine. He played some old John Mayer record, slow dancing in a burning room. That hit hard. We sat too close on the couch. His arm brushed mine. He stared too long. I stared right back. And then he said, "You don't have to be unhappy." I said, "I'm not." And we both knew I was lying. I went home that night with my heart racing and my skin tingling. My husband returned the next day with groceries, a kiss on the cheek, and a story about how his mom is getting worse with her memory. I nodded, listened, pretended. But my mind was still at the apartment. Still on his fingers brushing mine. Still tasting the wine and his breath and his lies I hadn't even discovered yet. Over the next 2 weeks, it got harder to keep the boundaries. Every accidental run-in turned deliberate. I started dressing better. Wearing perfume again. Lipstick. He noticed. He noticed everything. One day, I dropped by his apartment to return a book he loaned me. He wasn't supposed to be home. He was. He opened the door shirtless, towel around his waist, hair wet. I froze. He smirked. Didn't expect company? I laughed nervously. I can come back. He stepped aside. Or, you can come in. I did. Of course I did. We sat. Talked. But we didn't touch. Not that time. That time, it was just electricity running between us, thick enough to feel, but not yet lit. I left, trembling. And then came the night I lied to my husband for real. Not just a little lie. But a full, planned-out lie. I told him I was going to a girls' night. I dressed in a new dress I bought secretly, black and soft, something I hadn't worn in years. He barely looked up from his phone. Have fun, he muttered. I didn't even feel guilty. That's the scariest part. We went to his place. We kissed. A lot. But he stopped. He looked me in the eye and said, I'm not going to be the one who breaks you. You have to choose this. I sat there, lips swollen, heart pounding, fingers shaking. And I whispered. I already did. The line between fantasy and reality disappeared. And I let it. Because what started as attention turned into obsession. Not with his body, though yes, that too. But with the way he made me feel. Wanted. Seen. Desired. My husband had stopped seeing me years ago. He loved me, I guess. In his own safe, distant way. But this man? He made me feel like I was the only woman alive when we were together. Like I still had power. Beauty. Control. I realize now. I never really had control. It was raining that afternoon. Not the soft, romantic kind of rain you see in movies. No. This was heavy, messy, loud rain, the kind that makes the world stop moving for a moment. And I should have stayed still. I should have let the weather wash the temptation off me. But I didn't. I grabbed my keys and drove to his apartment like the storm outside matched the one inside me. I had made up my mind. Speaking head, before I tell you what happened inside that apartment, take a second to like this video. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. And if you know someone who's ever been torn between right and wrong, send this to them. Trust me, they'll feel this chapter in their bones. I had been to his apartment before, but this time felt different. This time I wasn't coming to borrow a book. I wasn't coming for a drink or to laugh too long at his jokes. I was coming for him. He opened the door in a fitted black t-shirt and jeans. The moment our eyes met, there were no words. None were needed. He stepped aside, and I walked in. Wet from the rain, but burning inside. The door clicked shut behind me. I turned around and stood there, watching him watch me. He didn't say a thing. He just reached for the hem of my shirt, slowly, carefully, as if checking one last time that this was real. I lifted my arms. And just like that, there was no turning back. We didn't rush. That surprised me. I had imagined it 1,000 times, fast, breathless, rough. But what actually happened was tender. He held me like I was something fragile. Kissed me like he had been waiting his whole life to do it right. His fingers explored me slowly, like he wanted to memorize every inch. No words. Just breathing. Skin. Eyes that didn't close. I felt exposed, not just my body, but my soul. He saw me. Not as a wife. Not as someone's property. As a woman. As a person. And when we finally made love, I didn't feel dirty. I felt alive. And that, I think, was the most dangerous part. Because in that moment, I forgot about everything else, my marriage, my vows, the quiet pain I'd carried for years. All I knew was his skin, his voice in my ear, the way his hand slid down my thigh as if it belonged there. He whispered things I hadn't heard in over a decade. "You're beautiful. You deserve more. I'm not letting you go." And I believed every damn word. Afterwards, I lay in his bed staring at the ceiling. Sheets tangled around my legs. His fingers drawing lazy lines across my stomach. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to return to the life where I had to pretend I was okay. He looked at me and said, "You don't belong to him anymore. You belong to yourself." I nodded. But deep down, I knew what he was really doing, drawing me further into his world. And I was willingly going. That night, when I got home, my husband was watching a game on TV. He barely looked up. I kissed him on the forehead. Told him I had fun with the girls. He smiled. Said he was glad. Then he turned back to the game. And just like that, I realized how easy it was to lie to someone who's not paying attention. After that day, it became regular. Sometimes once a week. Sometimes twice. Always carefully planned. Always risky. We met in hotels. Sometimes in the backseat of his car. Sometimes in the same apartment where he first undressed me. Each time, I gave a little more of myself. And I thought I was gaining something: freedom, validation, passion. But I was actually losing. Losing my peace. Losing my sense of right and wrong. Losing control. I started making excuses not to go home early. I got better at lying. I even changed the password on my phone. I became a version of myself I never thought I could be. Bold. Rebellious. Careless. And it scared me. Because I loved it. One day, we were lying in bed, our bodies still sticky from the heat between us, and I asked him, "What do you want from me?" He smiled and said, "I want you to be mine. Fully." And I, like a fool, said, "I already am." But looking back now. That day, the red flags were already there. He got irritated when I didn't respond quickly. Started asking who I was with, even when I was just running errands. He didn't like when I posted too many pictures with my husband, even the old ones. But I brushed it all off. Told myself it was passion. Told myself he just cared. It wasn't passion. It was possession. I see that now. But at the time, I was too deep in to notice. Too wrapped up in the fantasy. Too addicted to how he made me feel. People always think it's the big things that blow up an affair. A found message. A lipstick stain. A hotel receipt. But sometimes, it's the small shifts. The uneasy gut feelings. The long pauses. The moments when something just feels off. That's how it started. With silence. And silence is where the truth begins to scream. I remember lying next to him one night after we made love. He was staring at the ceiling, hands behind his head, distant. Usually, after we were together, he'd hold me. Trace his fingers across my back. Kiss my forehead and whisper all the things a starving woman wants to hear. But this time? Nothing. Not a word. So I asked softly, "Are you okay?" He blinked a few times and said, "Yeah. Just tired." I told myself not to overthink. But that's what women like me do when we fall too hard. We notice. Speaking head real quick, if you're feeling this story, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that secrets always leave scars. And don't forget to subscribe, because things are about to unravel, fast. A week passed, and I barely heard from him. Texts became dry. Calls went unanswered. He blamed work. Said he was traveling. But something felt wrong. So I checked his social media, something I hadn't done in months. He barely posted. But then I saw a tagged photo. A woman. Pretty. Brunette. Sitting beside him at what looked like a rooftop bar. Her hand on his thigh. His arm around her shoulders. And the caption. Back where it all started, red heart. I stared at it for minutes. Then I clicked on her profile. She had posted more. More photos of them. More smiles. More proof. She wasn't just someone he met. She was someone he'd been with, long before me. I felt my stomach twist. That slow, sickening ache that comes when the lie you thought was sweet turns bitter in your mouth. I didn't cry. Not yet. I was too angry for tears. That night, I confronted him. Waited until he called, finally, and answered with a fake calm. Who's the girl on your Instagram? Silence. Don't lie to me. I saw everything. He sighed, like I was the one being difficult. Then, in that cold voice men use when they've already decided to move on, he said. She's someone I was seeing before you. It's complicated. Complicated? I had risked everything. I lied for him. I let him inside my body and my soul. And now he wanted to talk about complicated? I lost it. You made me believe I was the only one. That you wanted me, all of me. You looked me in the eye and said I belonged to myself, but you treated me like property. He didn't apologize. He just muttered, I didn't ask you to fall in love. And there it was. The cold, brutal truth. I hung up. Sat in my dark living room shaking. Tears came, hot and messy. I wasn't crying over him. Not really. I was crying over me. Over how I let it go this far. Over how I thought I was special. That night, I didn't sleep. And the next morning, I deleted everything. Our texts. The photos. The burner app we used to message in secret. I stood in the shower for almost an hour, scrubbing myself like I could erase what I had done. But the shame wasn't on my skin. It was under it. Then, the final blow came. I received an anonymous message. No name. No photo. Just a link. Curious, I clicked it. It led to a video. It was a blurry clip, nothing too clear. Just the sound of a woman laughing. A bed squeaking. A shadowed figure in the background. It was him. And the laugh? It was mine. I froze. The angle wasn't straight on, and I wasn't facing the camera. But I knew it. It was the day we met in the hotel near Lakeview Drive. The scarf on the lamp. The playlist. The drink on the nightstand. He had recorded us. Without telling me. My hands were trembling as I read the caption underneath the clip. He does this to all of them. Be careful, ladies. I couldn't breathe. Not only had I been lied to, I had been used. Played. Filmed. Maybe for fun. Maybe for blackmail. Or maybe just because he could. That's when the fear set in. Real fear. Not of getting caught by my husband, no, that was never the biggest threat. The fear that someone out there could recognize me. That the blurred video would be enough. That my secret, the one I'd kept buried so carefully, would come spilling into the light for everyone to see. I deleted my social media. Changed my number. Cut ties with everyone who might connect the dots. I even started dressing differently. Quieter. Less skin. Less perfume. I became invisible again. And for the first time in months. That felt safe. But inside, I was still burning. Burning with regret. Burning with shame. And burning with the bitter truth. He was never who I thought he was. Some truths don't slap you in the face. They creep up, slow and quiet, while you're still busy pretending everything's fine. Until one day, you realize. You're standing in the middle of a fire, and you lit the match. It had been 2 weeks since I found the video. 2 weeks since I'd last spoken to him. 2 weeks of waking up every morning with a knot in my chest, wondering if today would be the day someone would find out. Every notification on my phone made me flinch. Every unknown number made my palms sweat. Every time my husband looked at me for more than a second, I panicked. But he never asked questions. He never looked deep enough. That's what made the secret possible in the first place. The real damage wasn't the affair. It was what the affair revealed. That I was invisible in my own marriage. That I had become someone I didn't recognize. That I had betrayed myself long before I betrayed him. Then, one afternoon, it happened. I was folding laundry in the bedroom when a message popped up on my old Facebook account. An account I hadn't used in months, but hadn't deleted either. It was from a woman. Her name was Allison M. No profile picture. Just words. He did it to me too. Same lines. Same lies. And yes, he filmed me. I'm sorry you had to learn the hard way. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here. That message broke me in a way even the video didn't. Because now, it wasn't just about me. It wasn't even just about him. It was about the pattern. The women. The game he was playing. And the mess he left behind. I didn't reply. But I clicked her name. And saw her page. She had posted a long, emotional video warning women in the area. He had used a different name with her. A different story. But the same moves. Same charm. Same destruction. Dozens of women had commented under the video. Some vague. Some detailed. And in one of the background photos, I saw myself. Blurry, yes. But there. In a restaurant. Laughing at something he said. I recognized the dress. The necklace. The way I was leaning toward him like a woman who thought she was safe. The panic was instant. My face turned cold. My stomach dropped. I zoomed in 100 times just to reassure myself no one else would be able to tell. But I knew. I could never unsee it. That night, I sat alone on the floor of my bathroom and made a decision. I couldn't keep living with this silence. So I wrote it all down. Every detail. Not for him. Not for my husband. For me. This story. The one you're listening to now. I created an anonymous page. Started recording it piece by piece. Not to confess. Not for sympathy. But to release it. To let the truth breathe. Speaking head, if you're still with me, thank you. This is where I ask you, once again, please like this video if it spoke to you. Share it with someone who's buried in a lie and doesn't know how to dig out. And subscribe, because there's more to say, more women like me out there who need to hear. You're probably wondering. Did my husband ever find out? No. He didn't. He still hasn't. He still kisses me goodnight with that distracted, distant affection. Still scrolls through his phone while I sit across from him at dinner. Still asks how my day was, without waiting for the answer. And me? I smile. I answer. I play the part. But inside, I've changed. Not because I loved that other man. Not because I cheated. But because I finally faced myself. Faced the truth about who I became. Faced the truth about why I let it happen. And most importantly, faced the truth about him. He wasn't special. He wasn't some soulmate I stumbled into by mistake. He was a mirror. One that showed me everything I had lost inside of me. And everything I had been pretending to be okay with. I no longer see him. He reached out a few more times, new numbers, fake names, different tactics. I blocked him all. But his ghost still lingers. In the songs I skip. In the places I avoid. In the parts of me that still ache, even after everything's fine again. Will I ever tell my husband? I don't know. Some truths destroy more than they free. And maybe that makes me a coward. Maybe I'll carry this to my grave. But here's what I do know. Secrets rot the soul. Even when no one else knows them. Even when you get away with it. Even when you convince yourself it was just a phase. They eat away at your joy. Your peace. Your sense of self. And if you're not careful, they'll turn you into someone you don't recognize in the mirror. This was my truth. My mistake. My mess. And now, it's yours too. Because you heard it. Because you know. Because you felt it. Speaking head, if this story made you think, even a little, please don't leave without hitting like. Share it. Someone needs this. Someone is where I was. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more anonymous truths. Some painful. Some healing. But all real.